Welcome to Forest Chat, where we talk about individual endeavour in Western Australia, what it takes, what it means, and how you do it. I'm your host, Paul Vandermeer, and today we're talking with Natalie Cream about making cakes. Natalie started with making cakes as a youngster, teaching her grandmother just how to do it. Actually, the other way around, I think. And she's loved cooking ever since. And it's one of those skills that she has honed and developed, and now she does some super amazing work. Welcome to Forest Chat, Natalie.
Thanks, Paul. Lovely to be here.
It's fantastic to have you on the show, Natalie.
Thank you.
Especially like the little demonstration you got before doing our interview. That was wonderful.
Well, you were lucky to do that because I don't normally do that in front of anybody, but I thought I'll spoil you.
Thank you. So, Natalie, making cakes, what is that?
It's putting together butter and sugar and flour and what else? Flavouring, eggs, and creating something amazing that tastes really good. Well, I think they taste really good, so.
And you've got a bit of a following. I think you've got more than just you think that they're pretty good.
Yeah, I have. I'm really lucky. I get some amazing compliments from people that still blow me away every time because, like, I love doing it, but to get the compliments actually makes it all worthwhile.
Tell us about your story with coming to be making cakes.
So when I was really little, maybe 2 or 3, my mum started teaching me to do cakes. Now, there's a story that I don't know whether it's my little sister or me. I was told it was me. She thinks it was her, where mum burnt a cake and swore. And one of us, whichever one it was, actually walked around the kitchen saying that swear word. And my mum never swears ever, really. So, yeah, that's been one of the really lovely family stories about the whole cooking thing. But I've cooked with my grandmother and my mum, one of my best friends. We often cook together, and not cakes, but all sorts of things. So my dad says I come from a long line of great cooks.
A long line of great cooks. That's a compliment.
Yeah, that's what he says because he loves my mum's cooking and he loves my cooking and my sister's 2 sisters' cooking and my grandmother's cooking. So, yeah, that's pretty cool, I reckon.
It's in the family.
Yeah.
So our last question when we talk about how do you do it, that could be an interesting response for that as well.
Yeah, could be too, yeah.
Natalie, what does it take you to make cakes?
It takes me having a really great recipe that I can change the flavours of cakes with. I have to be really well organised to make sure that all the ingredients are in my fridge, for example. And I actually just get in and do it. And I don't know, it just kind of miraculously happens. But I am very pedantic about the measurements of my cakes. I'm not a wing it, throw it in, except for dinners and that sort of thing. But my cakes are very regimented in, if it says 10 grams, then it is 10 grams. I don't kind of go whichever way, over or under. Yeah, and I have to plan everything so that I can get all my orders done in a timely manner. I do lots of research on flowers and things, particularly for the flowers, which is my absolute passion. I mean, I love making all sorts of cakes, but the flowers, yeah, they're my absolute passion.
When you said flowers, I misunderstood you straight away. I immediately thought about the flour that goes into the mix.
Oh, no, I didn't even think about that. See, I was actually thinking about my flowers on my cupcakes or the flowers that I pipe for what I call real cakes, which is the round cakes for celebrations, not cupcakes, which is what my flowers with a W go on the cupcakes, yeah. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because as a non-cake maker, well, I'm assuming you're a non-cake maker.
True.
flower
I'm a
is...
cake eater.
Yeah, so there are two flowers. I never even thought about that.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting. So you're mainly making cupcakes and
Well,
piping flowers onto them, and
so it's my initial thing was that I was doing baking cupcakes and piping flowers, as you saw the rows, onto the cupcakes and putting them in bouquets or putting them in boxes. And then people started asking me, will I make cakes? And so my business has kind of expanded doing all of it. And that's why I'm saying the flowers are still my absolute passion, but I love doing the cakes as well.
can you describe some of the sorts of cakes that you've made?
I've made so many. I make slab cakes that I print edible images on, that people send me photos of their loved ones and I can put them on. Anything really that can be printed out. Celebration cakes, 50th birthdays, 90th birthdays, weddings, which I was never going to get into, but I've started doing that. So that's really cool. Just about anything that you can celebrate deserves cake, I think.
Absolutely. And in the scheme of designs, so you've done quite a lot in the floral type cakes?
I have. Yeah. That's actually as I keep saying, you're going to have to cut all of that out because I keep saying it's my passion. I think I'm more renowned for my flowers because nobody does it really down here. Some people do a little bit of it, but I'm really the one that does all the different flowers. And I'm always looking for new tutorials for the different flowers. So, yeah. But a lot of people send me designs. I try not to copy too much stuff. I try and put my own spin on things. But when people send me a photo, they are pretty much wanting almost that exact thing. It's really great when somebody actually says, I want this colour and those flowers, and then just leaves it and it just happens. So
leaves the artistic decision to you.
Yeah. Like a wedding cake that I just did a couple of weekends ago, they wanted marble, blue for the ocean, and palette knife green leaves for the seaweed. So I just did that and it turned out amazing. They were super happy with it, and that's kind of the way I like to roll,
So you like to have a bit of freedom in the artistic side of what you're dealing with.
Yes, yeah, I do.
So where do you put yourself on the artistic-y scale?
About, on a scale of 0 to 10, about 2.
So super artistic.
No, super non-artistic. But you know what? People are always at me like, oh my God, you are so talented at this. And you're so artistic. And I never actually think that's the way I am. But then when I look at stuff, I'm like, yeah, okay. I can see people are thinking that, but I never thought I had an artistic bone in my body. And I think it's just because I love doing that.
So how do you think about yourself and doing that if you're not thinking you're artistic?
Following instructions. But in saying that, I do actually kind of just, I follow something, but then I do put my own slant on it. So I guess that's the artistic thing. I just don't think about it like as an artist. Something I need to get my head around, I think.
Yeah, so it's more of an interpretation than it is about a label.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because, yes, I'm definitely not artistic. And I guess artistic to me is being able to paint something beautiful. But then art is in the eye of the beholder too, so, yeah.
And people appreciate what you do, even if you don't feel that is an artistic expression of what you're doing. It's your ability to recreate something consistently by the sound of things.
I think so. And do you know what? I had a guy the other day send me a text message. His partner had organised a 50th birthday cake, and he actually sent me a message saying, if I had known how good the cake was going to taste, I wouldn't have shared it at all.
Wow.
So that was a massive, massive compliment. And yeah, I had a ball doing that one. And that was a little bit like painting. It was a bit abstracty and whatnot. Yeah, it was cool.
You talked about following very closely the recipes. Do you experiment with recipes?
Only with flavours, really. I've got my recipes actually a really good recipe that I know works really well, but I can adjust the flavours. So, like, a lady asked for a strawberry cake, and I didn't normally do strawberry cake, but adding strawberry powder to the cake actually made it taste amazing, and she was super happy. So those sorts of things, and messing around with, I don't know, all sorts of different flavours and things. But I like to stick to the basic recipe because that I know works really well.
That's your repeatable thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, the same base recipe I can do vanilla and chocolate and red velvet, Mexican chocolate, which is cinnamon and chocolate, which is a really cool flavour. Yeah, there's so many other things that I'd like to try though. One day.
Something to look forward
as
to.
in one day trying different flavour recipes, not other artistic things, like painting and that kind of thing.
We're talking about experimenting with recipes.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Keeping it within that.
Yeah.
We've had a look at what it takes. We'll have a break now, and after the break, we'll have a look at what it means. We've had a look at what it takes, Natalie, to make cakes. Now we'll have a look at what it means. Natalie, what does it mean to you, your family, or the community that you are able to make cakes?
It's pretty special for me knowing that I'm actually making cakes for all sorts of different reasons, and for people that don't want to or can't make it for themselves, for all the different reasons that people want cake. 90th birthdays, 100 birthdays. Just to say thanks. To say thank you for the cancer treatment and I'm finished. All those lovely, lovely reasons, it fills my heart. Yeah. It's really nice to be a part of somebody's celebration.
There are lots of things to celebrate in the world, and you get involved in lots of them.
So many. There's so many reasons. Gender reveals and engagements and weddings and you name it. There's so much out there. And as I said before, cakes for any reason.
Anything that brings people together.
Yes, definitely.
And cake is a great one for bringing people together.
It sure is, yeah. It sure is. Everybody loves cake. Well, 99.9% of people like cake. Not everybody.
People like what it represents, though.
They do. They absolutely do, yeah. Yeah. I guess it's the joy. Eating cake is a joy. And having a cake that tastes as good as it looks is also a joy.
And your cakes look fantastic.
Thank you. I hope everybody thinks that.
I'm sure they do. Why would they think anything else?
Well, you never know.
They just look amazing.
You never know. That's the lack of self-confidence, see?
So it's fantastic that you're able to make cakes for so many different celebrations. Are there any particular ones that stand out that really, what you made really aligned with what was going on?
There's so many. There's too many to even really name because You know, I just had one that was just before Australia Day, and it was to celebrate a farmer's birthday. And his favourite colours are green and gold. So it was perfect, and yeah, that one was really cool. I don't know, they're all just so special. I'll say it's lovely to be able to chat to people, and my husband calls me have a chat. So it's nice to discuss their cakes and the reasons why they are ordering a cake or wanting a cake. There's all sorts of so many wonderful reasons for that. And as you know, I love to have a chat.
That's fantastic that you're able to do that.
It really is, yeah. It's because I'm at home most of the time doing all of this, it's nice to actually talk to people about cakes or about other things that they might want to talk to me about, because they don't always just talk to me about cake. It's lovely.
There's so many interesting people. I find that doing this podcast as well, that even though I talk to people about specific topics, there are people I could interview 3, 4 or 7 times because they have so many interesting things about them that we could talk about.
Yeah, we're such complex characters, all of us, that until you actually stop and have a conversation with somebody, you don't know what is in their mind or what their interests are or why they do what they do. You know, it's fascinating. I love it.
And you get to hear about when they have a celebration.
Absolutely. It sure is. Yeah, it's the best reason.
There's lots of positive meaning in making cakes, which we've heard about from Natalie just now. We'll have a break, and after the break, we'll have a look at how you do it. We've had a look at what it means to make cakes. Now, let's have a look at how you do it. Natalie, how does someone go about becoming a cake maker?
The first thing you have to do is actually go to your shire and get registered, go through all the procedures with food safe things, get registered as a home kitchen, because that's completely different to commercial kitchen. Home kitchens, you're not allowed to use a lot of things like cream cheese, that kind of thing. That's more for commercial because they have to keep proper records and everything. Then you have to find some really cool recipes that taste good and test them and test them and test them so that you know they're always going to work. Well, actually, probably that comes before going to the shire, because otherwise there's no point.
You want to know you're able to do it before you get your approval.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Get lots of taste testers. They'll love it, or they might hate it if you're testing something and it's really awful.
But you'll know pretty soon.
Oh yeah, you will know pretty soon. Yes, there'll be lots of, ew, that's revolting. And then there'll be lots of, oh my God, that is amazing. You have to keep that one. So there's good and bad, but you have to have the bad before you can get to the good. And
You've also, personally, you've had a lot of practice.
I've had years of practice. Years and years and years, like from when I was, as I said before, 2 until now. I've been cooking for as long as I can remember. So yes, I've had lots of practice. So if you can, find somebody who loves cooking and that would be really happy to teach you some of their things if you've never done it before. That's a really good way of learning how to do stuff.
And building a relationship while you're going through that process, I would imagine.
Absolutely, yeah, it's fun. A girlfriend and I, not so much now because I'm really busy making cakes, but a girlfriend and I would often spend a weekend cooking a whole batch of sausage rolls and anything really that you can batch make for the two of us for freezers and things. And it's a good way of catching up with somebody and learning about them if you don't already know them, because I know my girlfriend really well. Yeah, and it's fun. It's fun. It's a good connection with someone.
Absolutely. And a joint goal to get to the end. Well, the goal is actually not to get to the end, is it?
Well, the goal is to get a cake cooked. So that's the end, really, apart from the decorating side of it. So, yeah, the end is right. I'll allow you to have that one.
Thank you.
I thought you'd like that.
So that's fantastic that you're able to share that experience, and you've had the experience with your family, but also with your friends. So that's like sharing a hobby.
It's exactly sharing a hobby, and that's where this whole business actually started, as a hobby. So if you can turn your hobby into something that helps or is a business, then that's pretty cool, because then it's doing something that you love.
And you also put in the extra care and attention, I would imagine.
Yes, definitely. Absolutely. And I think you have to go down you do have to go down the registered kitchen path, because that's important. At least a registered kitchen knows the food safe rules, knows the correct way of treating things. I think you have to be careful with that.
So that's a food safety. You don't want anyone coming down ill afterwards. So
No way. No, that would be the worst thing ever. So I'm really pedantic about the whole food safe rules, and yeah, it's super important.
then the product you're putting out there, it shows from many angles that it's a very valuable thing for society as well.
Yes, you're right. It absolutely is very valuable, I think. I never thought about it like that, really. That's a by the by too, by the by. Yeah, it is valuable, because cakes are a sign of love and celebration. We keep using that celebration word, but I don't know, it's a celebration of life, really.
It is all the good things about life, because that's why you're celebrating.
Yeah. Crazy. I never thought I'd be so involved in cake making. You know, I never expected it to take off like it has. It's very special.
Is there anything more that you might want to say about the process of becoming a cake maker?
The registered kitchen one is really important, because there's that many people out there that aren't registered. So they don't have insurance, they don't have anything like that, and people really need to know if they're going to buy food that's not from a commercial place, they should be licensed, because anything can happen, can't it?
You did mention earlier briefly about exploring recipes and techniques. So you do need to practice your techniques as well, don't you?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, you sure do. You need to know how to cream butter and sugar, and when it's actually ready to add the next bit to it. And you need to know, well, for example, like today when it's really hot, that temperature plays a big part in buttercream and how it reacts. And even, actually, this is really interesting, because if it's really hot and I have the doors open, my cakes cook differently. So I never have the doors open when I cook cakes anymore, because they are so different, it's not funny. And I never realised that until I thought about it a bit, and it was like, that's why they're doing what they're doing. But that's bizarre, because I don't know the reason why. I need to research that, don't I?
You imagine that there's something going on, but
Yeah, I don't know whether it's the not that we always have humidity, but I don't know whether it's that and the air in the house or the air coming from outside into the house affects it. And I've got 2 ovens, so I only use one for cakes. But if I want to be cooking, say I want to cook because I make sourdough bread, so say I want to be cooking sourdough in one and my cakes in another, that makes a difference too. And it shouldn't, because they're completely separate. I mean, they're the same, in the same oven, but there's a proper divider between them, but it makes a difference. So all these things can change the way things actually work. And that's been a massive eye-opener for me, because I had no idea until I started doing that.
There's a lot to learn.
Yeah, there is a lot to learn, and I never actually really stopped to think about it before, because most of it I've grown up with, but there's a lot of people out there that aren't like me and didn't have grandmothers who cooked and mothers who cooked, so they need to know all sorts of nitty-gritty things that you just don't think about.
Yeah, to know the types of things that can actually influence what's going on.
Yeah, it's weird. Never actually thought about it before until I started experimenting with different sorts of ingredients and where you get them from.
So the source of the ingredients is critical to ensuring you have a consistent product.
Absolutely, yep. So I only ever buy the same flour, the same sugar, the same eggs, which sounds weird because it's the same brand of eggs. That sounds weird, but yeah, it's the same brand of eggs all the time, because it makes a big difference. Same butter, same everything, consistency across the board.
I wonder how our grandparents with wooden stoves made some very amazing sponge cakes. Sponge with jam and cream.
So clever. So clever. Because how do you regulate a temperature on a wood-fired oven? You're right. How did they do it?
Yeah, regulates up and down with the amount that's burning and where it's placed.
And you're right, they used to make the best sponges with jam and cream ever. My husband Gary, he's got fond memories of his grandmother making sponge cakes, and he remembers them as being like, I don't know, what's that, 15 centimetres high or something, one sponge cake. And she used a wood-fired oven. I just can't even get that in my head.
They knew their gear.
They absolutely knew their gear. And I guess they had to, because what else did they have?
Exactly. They had to know their gear.
Yeah. And do you know what else blows me away too? Is like, who actually decided to put butter and sugar together and cream it all up? And it would have been a hand beater or a hand whisk or something. And then add eggs and flour and put it in the oven. Like, who would have thought? How does anybody think like that? Like, I've got no idea. I just find a recipe, follow it, make sure it works, and then keep using it.
A lot of things come from experimentation. There's been a long time for people to experiment, but
definitely
that's a lot of out there doing stuff, isn't it?
It really is. And I often think about it and I'm like, man, there were some clever people. I mean, there's still clever people here now today, but there were some really clever people back in the day. Really, really. Yeah, all sorts of things, you know. How do they work out that you can pound a horseshoe out of something? Like, I like to know the nitty-gritty of stuff, right? Which is kind of the mathematics side of my brain, which is why I think I'm not really artistic, because I was more, when I was growing up, mathematically minded. But I'm like, how the hell did this happen? How do you do that? Crazy.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Natalie, for being on Forest Chat. And from all Forest Chat listeners, they wish you all the best in your future endeavours.
Thank you very much, Paul. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It certainly has. You've been listening to Forest Chat, where we talk about individual endeavour in Western Australia, what it takes, what it means, and how you do it. I'm your host, Paul Vandermeer, and in today's episode, we've been talking with Natalie Cream about making cakes. Remember, there are 4 ways to get involved with Forest Chat. Share the domain Forest Chat with your friends and family and people you meet. When you subscribe to the emails, you get advance notice of episodes. Listen to the episodes at forest.chat/episodes. If you do something interesting, or if you know somebody who does something interesting, book an interview at forest.chat/interview. If you'd like to support a local business, book an advert at forest.chat/advert. I'm looking forward to seeing you with our next guest. Until then, enjoy making it happen.